Joining me to discuss, to respond to for the first time live, is Sean Spicer, Chief Strategist and Communications Director for the Republican National Committee. Sean, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This statement from Ben Carson, it's rough. What do you say to Ben Carson?
Well, I say to Dr. Carson, don't worry. Your prayers have been answered. There was a dinner where the subject was how the delegate selection process works, what the difference between a hybrid state versus a proportional state. And at the end of that dinner, there were a lot of questions asked. It was, frankly, very similar to a press briefing that we held for 150 members a couple of weeks ago, where a very similar thing happened. We walked through the delegate selection process, what states were going on what days, how each state handled their delegate process, and at the end, we took a series of questions. It's really nothing more than that. Why would it come up in the first place? I mean, because every Republican that we talk to, they say, as you kind of were saying, we're in December, that's in July. Why are we even talking about the possibility of broker convention before anyone's even cast any votes? Why did it come up? Oh, it's the same reason that people discuss whether or not there's going to be a tie in the Electoral College around election. It's great cocktail conversation. I mean, I don't think you can walk down the street right now without people exhibiting a high amount of interest in what's happening on the Republican side for our nomination. We have a ton of interest in it. That's great. And what happens when you have that is people ask questions. What happens if this happens? I mean, every show discusses what happens if someone wins Iowa and they don't win New Hampshire? What happens if someone runs the table? This is what's so great about what's happening in our party right now. There's a tremendous amount of excitement. So people are going to ask questions about all facets of what's happening. I think that's really great, but I don't think that that's anything abnormal. People are always going to want to have an interest in what's happening with the process itself. There's been a lot of rules changes, so that there's a lot of intrigue as far as what states go when, what's the difference between a hybrid state, what's the difference between at-large delegates versus congressional delegates. Those are all things that people are really interested in right now.
You can see it definitely touched a nerve with this campaign and others, that's for sure. In this statement, the Carson campaign asks this: if this was the beginning of a plan to subvert the will of voters and replace it with the will of the political elite, I assure you Donald Trump will not be the only one leaving the party. When you look at, according to the Washington Post, some of the folks who are at this party, you have Republican Party officials, that's no surprise, but also an advisor to Marco Rubio and someone close with Jeb Bush. Does Ben Carson have a point here? Why weren't the campaigns invited then?
It was a dinner, Kate. There are people, Reince Priebus probably has a dinner every night, a lunch, a breakfast, coffee in between. People, we meet with campaigns. We do meet with the campaigns, as a matter of fact. I mean, so the idea, this is really, to be honest with you, quite silly. We meet with all the campaigns.
So it's much ado about nothing, is what you think.
Dr. Carson, hold on. It really is. I mean, honestly, we have a dinner a night with people who have expressed an interest. Like I said, 3 weeks ago, we had 150 members of the press here where we walked through the same thing. We meet with people all day long who have an interest in this process. Pundits, members of the media, donors, campaigns, other interested people, academics. This is what happens around an election season. There's a tremendous amount of interest in what's happening, how the process works, and our job is to explain it to people and answer their questions. That's actually what the process is supposed to be. People have questions about the process, we answer it. But here is the bottom line in all of this. Republican voters will choose the delegates that will go to the convention in Cleveland next July. Those people will decide the nominee. That's it. Bottom line, plain and simple. If you want to know who's going to elect the next president of the United States, it's going to be the delegates that Republican voters elect. Plain and simple.
Is Reince Priebus going to be hosting any more of these dinners after this?
Yes. We have dinner, like I said, if people have an interest in this, we will meet with them. I mean, again, we sat down with
I'm not the one making much ado about nothing here. You saw the statement from Ben Carson. They're furious about this. They say if what's reported and described in the Washington Post is true, he's threatening to leave the party.
And I feel very confident that he will stay in the Republican Party, as will Donald Trump, as will everyone else. We're going to have a great nominating process. And we will select the best nominee for this party, and we will take back the White House. It'll all work out, I promise.
So, Sean, rather than saying everyone needs to take their calming pills. We can call them whatever you can say, or Xanax, or whatever you want. I have a question for you. Since everyone seems to be so interested in what happened in this dinner, this one in particular, and since so many people are talking coming out of this dinner of what happened, how much was Donald Trump part of the conversation?
I don't think very much. And it wasn't, I mean, because that's not what the point was. The point of the dinner, as I said, was to talk about the delegate selection process, how it works, explain the differences and the nuances that exist in the new rules going forward. That was it, plain and simple. And so, you know, in every dinner and every meeting, there's going to be people who favor one candidate, who have questions about another. But that's the nature of conversation, frankly, especially in politics. I guarantee you that when people go home for the holidays, that there's going to be similar discussions around dinner tables where people are saying, hey, what are you hearing about this? How does this work? What's the difference between that and this? That's, frankly, something that we welcome at the party because it exhibits how much interest there is right now, the intensity that exists and excitement that is on the Republican side that's, frankly, lacking on the Democratic side.
Well, absolutely, there is definitely interest on the Republican side. I can promise you, Sean, I will clear my schedule if an invitation to one of these dinners pops up for me. I appreciate it. And talking about all that
I would love to have dinner with you and John.
Thank you.
We'll be glad to. We'll be out in Vegas for the debate on Tuesday night. I'd love to have, you know, anyone from CNN and other media organizations. We can put together a dinner there. We want people to understand how this process is going to play out. We're excited that so many people are interested in it. And so if people want to have dinner, lunch, I love eating.
That's my biggest takeaway of this conversation. Sean Spicer loves food. All right, well, thank you for the plug for the debate. That, of course, is Tuesday right here on CNN, the last debate, GOP debate of the year. See you there, Sean. Thank you.